Happy day to all. Now we are discuss about that 8th standard portion of unit number 11, air. In our earth surrounded of particles like as air composition molecules that contain nitrogen, oxygen, argon, carbon dioxide or some other gases. Like as nitrogen, it contain 78% of air, much more greater ratio of in our air atmosphere. Then next is on 21% of oxygen, then 0.98% of argon, and then 0.04% of carbon dioxide. These all the gases are surrounded in our atmosphere like as earth surfaces. Let us discuss that first content like as oxygen. Oxygen is the much more greater importance of our general life. It's discovered by Swedish chemist like as Scheele in 1772. They only first discovered by that oxygen. Next one of but he has named as that fire gas, but it's not for that fire gas. This is like as the special name of oxygen only. So who is this named as oxygen mean? This British scientist like as Joseph Priestley. This on he is in 1774. Lavoisier and Priestley both are named as oxygen. Oxygen mean is on burned material like as the gases. So that's why in our burned gases known as oxygen is named by Lavoisier. Next like that occurrence of our oxygen mean oxygen is simply placed in our environment at that breathing purpose, respiratory purpose and all those things of burning things. We are simply getting as an effort, but it's maintained like as a segregation in our stomach, that the segregation is depends on that burning of food material. Burning of food material mean it must be needed for oxygen. How we know that air composition is contain oxygen? Let we discuss like that one small experiment. Let us see one small experiment. See right now 4 different candles blinking here. Let us do for that one of that glass material. I just hold here. See, this is on the top of the surface is open thing. So that candle is continuously burning like that. See another glass material like placed here. Then one more, much more. See that burning of candle is disappear. At the same thing, there is a large size of container, that flame is on burning, but on that flame is much more smaller than that burning like that. See clearly, burning of candle is switch off. Of that last container also, see that first thing, this the candle burning is continuously running out because the top of the glass vessel is open like that. So open mean air is come to on that vessel, continuously these are burning. So this is the experiment based on that oxygen gas is present of our atmosphere. Is it clear? For our previous experiment, we will conclude like in our atmosphere contain oxygen. We will very know like this. In our oxygen presence of our atmosphere, it's on that free state or in our combined state. Free state mean it's nothing but free state mean 2 oxygen particles is combined to each other. Its presence as an oxygen molecule. That's mean diatomic molecule. In that combined state mean it's nothing but the simplest molecule like as water, and then combined compounds like as oxides of ionic oxides, zinc oxides, magnesium oxides. All those things are combined state of oxygen molecules. These are the presence of in our nature of oxygen placed on that free and combined state right now. Then percentage of oxygen presence of in our atmosphere mean free state and combined state on the 2 categories. Free state mean in our atmosphere air 21% of oxygen is there. Other than in our water molecule is out of 100 molecule we will consider mean this is contain 88 to 90% of oxygen is placed in our water molecule. At that combined state mean in our body or in our plants and animals mean it contains 60 to 70% of oxygen is there. Other than in our oxide and minerals, all those things in carbide compounds presence of our soil mean it's having like us 45 to 50% of oxygen in our atmosphere or in our earth crust surfaces. Then oxygen, how they presence on that combined form, how they form in the comparison of free state to combined state mean the simplest process we know very well for photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is nothing but in our atmosphere air composition like as carbon dioxide. This is we know very well for that 0.04%, you know that the carbon dioxide is mixed with water molecules in the presence of sunlight carried by that chlorophyll presence of our plant. It's carried by that process, mean it's forming as in a glucose. This is the food of plants, moreover our food also. That's why it's forming as in a combined state of molecule like as glucose molecule. This is the form of combined state of carbon oxygen molecules. This is the combined state, mean the much more greater mass ratio presence of in our combined state of molecules, mean oxygen is must take part in that compound. Right now, then next for that the percentage of oxygen presence of in our earth surface, mean this is the much more greater ratio compared with other all kinds of elements like as oxygen is carried by 46% and silicon carried by 27.7%. Next on that metal like as aluminum is carried 8.1%. Next one of that important metal like as iron, it's having 5%. Other all metals or minerals, all those things are much more little ratio only for in our earth crust surfaces. For our previous experiment wise, we will conclude like in our atmosphere contain oxygen. It's a concluder experiment like that, the candle experiment. Next, in our atmosphere, oxygen is present in the nature of free state and combined state. Free state means they will be behave individually. Combined state means it's combined with other elements or other many some more elements of that. So free state means oxygen molecules are present in the two oxygen elements bind together. It's forming as in a single molecule of oxygen. That gas is used to breathing for our human behaviors or in our animals and plants, everything itself. Then combined state means the simplest molecule like as water included, other all oxygen compounds are combined manner. Those are the simplest clarification for oxygen presence in free state and combined state presence of our atmosphere. Then next for that percentages of oxygen presence of our atmosphere mean it's also two categories, free state of the ratios and combined state of the ratios. First thing for in our oxygen place in our atmosphere, 21% of oxygen presence of our atmosphere. Then water molecules wise, for the consideration of 100 gram of water mean it's almost covered, it's 88 to 90% of oxygen is presence of in a simple water molecule. See right now what is how much more greater energy within that oxygen, right? Then next for that combined molecules mean in our body or plants, all those things are combined particles. The combined particles is such as plants, animals, human bodies, it's contain 60 to 70% of oxygen molecules is occupied in our whole body or in our other human behaviors. Then next for it in our source particles of minerals, rocky particles, carbon materials, all those things are 45 to 50% of oxygen particles is present in that combined form. Next, how they forming as in a combined molecule in our oxygen mean carbon dioxide is mixed with water in the presence of sunlight, it's carried by the chlorophyll, it's forming as in a glucose. What's this process? This such kind of chlorophyll process like as photosynthesis. Photosynthesis we know this is the process of food making by plants. We know very well, no, that's the process is carried by in the presence of oxygen only happens like that. The oxygen presence mean carbon dioxide mean much more greater mass like as 44 gram of oxygen is present in carbon dioxide, and then water mean 18 gram of oxygen is present in our water. Then the photosynthesis process is perfectly depends on that oxygen participation on this process. So all those things of that, each and every one of that food making process, respiration, photosynthesis, all those things is perfectly depends on oxygen. So oxygen is must presence of our everyone's life. This is much more presence in combined form. Next for that is on percentage of oxygen presence of our earth crust surfaces. We will discuss before itself like as atmosphere. Now we will discuss on earth crust, that means soil surfaces. Soil surface, how they present on that soil surfaces, sir? Oxygen is air only, no? No, not at all. In our rocky surfaces or in our soil surfaces or contain many much more number of metals or minerals. Those are minerals or metals is combined with the oxygen mean it's forming as their oxides or carbides. That's why oxygen also takes part in the contain the particles of soil surfaces. That means Oxygen is occupies 46.46% of ratio. Then next for silicon is much more greater ratio like as 27.7. Next category is entered by metals. Metal like as aluminum. Aluminum is carried by 8% of earth surfaces. Next occupation of iron is contain 5%. Other all metals and minerals all occupies us in a much more little quantity only. So which is much more greater occupation in our earth surface? Oxygen. We want to know that importance of oxygen. Next for it, the physical properties of oxygen. Why we want to know the physical properties mean? Then only we will learn, we will use, we will suggest to others. That's why we want to know that physical properties of oxygen. We know very well for that oxygen is an air substance like as gaseous component. Gases can be visible? No, not at all. So air is a colorless gas. It can be easy to smelling like that anything else? No, not all. So oxygen is also odorless. It can be tasting at all? Not at all. So oxygen is also tasteless particle. Next for that is on oxygen is in the free state of the compound. It's a poor conductor of the mixture of compound like as metallic oxides. This is simply known as ferrous oxide, ferric oxide. All those things are poor conductor. Next for that is on one of the important content of our oxygen is purely dissolved in our cold waters only, not for ordinary temperature, room temperature waters, because in our cool drinks particles is much more having as an oxygen, it's an dissolved oxygen is there. Next to moreover, oxygen is an denser compare in our atmosphere air. Then only oxygen is an breathing air of our living things. Moreover, it's always presence of in our troposphere. Is it clear right now? So then only we are easy to breathe, easy to live our life. Then oxygen is used to liquefy conversion of liquid manner. That means doing by that oxygen gases followed by the process of condensation, it's converted by that liquid material. The process is known as liquefaction. The liquid materials, why we want to convert by that liquid process of oxygen mean that the liquid oxygen is used to fuel for rockets. Next one of the important physical properties like as liquefaction of oxygen. In our oxygen is presence of in our gaseous phase, it's carried by that condensation process mean we will convert it by the liquid molecules of oxygen. Because of why mean in our liquid oxygen is used as a fuel for rocket or in our aerospaces. That's why we want to do that condensation of oxygen also. Then it's supported to that combustion. Oxygen is not a combustible material, but oxygen is helping to combustion by the simplest burning process of wood, candle. All the burning process is simply of oxygen only. Otherwise, the burning process it's not happens. Then for that in our important content of chemical properties of oxygen, the first property is known as combustibility. Combustibility is nothing but the material strongly binded particle, it can be splitting of looser material. That is the process is known as combustibility. That means such kind of material in the presence of oxygen, it's carried by the process of burning simply. That the burning mean the tighted particles are loosely. Thus the process is known as combustibility. Then for next one of that important chemical property of oxygen is reaction with metals. We will now hear before metals are reacted with oxygen mean it simply produce their relevant metallic oxide. That the metallic oxides are generally base in nature because of metals are sharing with electrons and oxygens are absorb the electrons. Which one of the material is absorb the electron mean that behaves base in nature. Then next for it oxygen react non-metals. Oxygen react with non-metals mean non-metals are a highly lesser reactive nature. Then mean oxygen is voluntarily giving that electrons energy to pull out that electron. Then it's forming as an electron donating nature. That the electron donating nature mean these of the compounds like to behave acidic in nature. So which one of the compound is voluntarily sharing the electrons mean it's behave like acidic in medium. Then next for it the simplest example like as in our blood transformation of oxygen and carbon dioxide in our lung. It's carried by in our lungs. We know very well for that. We will inhale of the gas is atmosphere air. Which gas is absorbed in our lungs? Oxygen. Which is deposited to our lungs? In our carbon dioxide. This is the transformation process like as oxygen is reacted by non-metallic substances. The next four is a reaction with non-metals mean oxygen react with carbon mean it's forming as in a carbon dioxide. Oxygen react with the nitrogen mean nitrogen di and nitrogen monoxides. Sulfur react with oxygen mean sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide. Then last one is important compound like as phosphorus compounds. Phosphorus react with oxygen mean it's produced phosphorus trioxide and phosphorus pentoxide. Then next we want to discuss like that one of the important activity. See that right now in that phosphorus is burning with oxygen, it's forming as a colorless flame. That means the forming as in a compound of phosphorus pentoxide or phosphorus trioxide in the presence of oxygen only. See one more of the experiment we can do on the simplest way in our home or classroom purpose. See right now water contain oxygen, we know very well. This is the simplest process like that. This is the small plate, it's burning on the candle in the center of the plate. It's covered that water material. I just covered that candle with one of the glass. See that right now. Flame is burning continuously and then it slow down. Note it right now. Is it right? Flame is slow down. Watch it right now. Moreover, parallelly in our water is getting up because water is also contain oxygen. This is also helping to burning. Next one of the important chemical properties of oxygen is reaction with hydrocarbons. Hydrocarbon means it's nothing but this is the petroleum product like as methane, ethane, propane, propylene, all those things are simply known as hydrocarbons. Hydrocarbons mean hydrogen binded with carbon. This is the perfect compound like as hydrocarbon. Hydrocarbons also react with oxygen mean it's produce of carbon dioxide with water and heat and light. This is carried by our automobile engines. What's the fuel of automobile engines? This is on petrol and diesel, Which is on the petrol and diesel? This is one of the purified material for hydrocarbons like as getting from petroleum industries. Petroleum industries mean the hydrocarbon compounds is segregated by the step by step depends on the perfect temperature. That the temperature mean when we fill into that hydrocarbons with our fuel tank of automobile engines, it's burning on that process. The burning carried by in the presence of engine, it's produced on that heat energy, light energy and then parallelly for carbon dioxide molecule. Within the silencer is the black fumes is there, that is known as carbon dioxide. Is it right? This is the simplest chemical property of oxygen. Without oxygen, there is no burning. Then next for it, rusting process. We know very well for that rusting. Iron material presence of in our house or in our outside parts of anywhere, it's simply carried by that rusting process. What is mean by that rusting? The ion pieces of material in the presence of atmospheric air, that the hairy material is deposited on the surface of iron body, it's forming as an oxide material. That the oxide is known as ferrous oxide. That the ferrous oxide is attached with in our water molecule, that the compound is known as ferrous oxide hydrated compound. That the compound is known as rust. So rust is also carried by the process of oxygen. Then next for it, the uses of oxygen. It is used to oxyacetylene cylinder to by the welding or cutting by that metallic bodies. We will see right now in our general area followed by that welding shops. Two iron pieces or any other metallic species is joined together mean some gas is passed through that material. Its material is binded. How they bind? The heat energy is much more melting to that material of metal. That the melting of metals mean is passed through the much more greater energy is getting by the addition component of oxygen and acetylene. The most important usages of oxygen. Next for it is on, it's used to remove carbon dusty particles of in our surface of metal bodies. In our metal bodies is on the tower buildings or constructed in our general areas, TV tower, mobile towers or anything else. This is on that iron material only, because it's on so strengthened. It's simply deposited as an oxide particles like as carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide. All those things are simply how we can removing the dusty particles of carbon. It's too difficult for us. Then only in our liquefied oxygens are deposited on the surface of the metallic surfaces on the tower material. Then oxygen particles are fully protector of the surface of iron material. Otherwise carbon dusty particles are simply deposited to that iron material and destroy. It's the fine preserved material in our metallic substances. Then next, one of the important uses is known as animal respiration. Respiration we know very well, we will taking as an food to getting energy. How we are getting energy? We are taking as an food, it's going to that stomach, it's carried by the digestion process. How they behave the digestion? We are breathing that oxygen is carried by that blood vessels. It's simply converted to the carbide materials. That the carbide materials is burning within our food particles. Then we can getting as an energy from our foods. Then next one of the important use is known as, it's used as rocket fuel. Rocket is an weightless material. Then only it passes away from our earth surfaces. So we are using like as weightless fuel, like as oxygen. It's a much more lesser weight, but it's produced on much more greater quantity of energy. Then only rocket is simply push up of the top of the earth surfaces. So the oxygen, one of the important use is it's used as a rocket fuel. The next for it is on, it's used to artificial respiration of deep sea divers, mountaineers and astronauts. We will know very well for that. Deep sea divers are carrying by that cylinders to breathing, to searching on that some other stones, or carry that videos in our different styles and different colors of fishes, So that's why those of the persons is wearing the oxygen cylinder. Then only those are continuous to taking as an breathe. Otherwise it's not happens. So oxygen is used as an artificial breathing nature. Now is in a corona period, this is also needed for oxygen cylinders to giving artificial breathing to our patients. We will know must on that uses of oxygens. The next for it, it's mixed with the powder charcoal. It's much more greater explosion in our mining areas, rocky areas. It's having a much more greater in size of rocks is there. How we can broken like that? This process is used to broken off large sizes of stones. So powdered charcoal is mixed with oxygen. It's ignited, mean it's much more blasting thing. That the blast mean large in size of rocky particles. It's much more cutting of small stones. This is the much most important in our mining areas. Then next for it is used as a preparation of methanol and ammonia. Methanol is forming the preparation of plant bodies. It's getting the simple material. For the supplying the oxygen with our plant bodies, it's simply converted by the methanol. For the several steps is there. We will discuss on that higher classes. Then moreover in our ammonia is also prepared by the presence of oxygen. Ammonia molecule is NH3. It's not having that oxygen, sir. How they using that making of ammonia? Because of the 100% pure compound of ammonia, it's forming by the presence of oxygen only. This is on moisture absorber in the formation of ammonia molecule. This is the wild usages of our oxygen. We are well know in that uses of oxygen. Then only we are living successful life. What we discussed in today, the lesson of air. Air is the presence of our atmosphere surrounded in our earth surfaces. So which one are the contain of air composition? Nitrogen, oxygen, argon, carbon dioxide and other gases. First of all, we will discuss on oxygen. That the oxygen is presence of our atmosphere. It's known as 21% at the phase of free state and combined state. Free state means in a breathing gas like as oxygen present as a molecule, and the combined state means it's simple molecule like as water other than carbon compounds or then carbide materials other than carbonate materials. So these are the combined state of oxygen molecules. Next we want to discuss like that the nature of oxygen. How they behave, the nature of oxygen mean the physical properties, odorless, colorless and tasteless gas, and then it's not for combustible material, but it's supported to combustible. It's moreover it's a poor conductor of material their own, but it's conducted with the poor conductance or with the metallic substances. Next 4 is chemical properties. Chemical properties mean first thing is known as combustibility, second thing is known as reactive with metals. Now, reactive with metals mean it's forming as a base like material. Then next one is reaction with non-metals. Non-metals mean it's forming as a acidic compounds, and then next mean it's reacted with the hydrocarbons. Hydrocarbons mean to forming as a carbon dioxide and water molecule, then heat and light. Then uses of oxygen. Uses of oxygen mean is used as breathing process. First of all we know very well. Next for it is used as a fuel for rocket. It's used as a prevention of metallic bodies to forming as a liquid oxygen. Then next one is it's a artificial breathing system for deep sea divers, mountaineers, patients, anyone's itself. Then next for it is used to cutting or fusing the metallic bodies by the process of welding process. Then last one is the preparation of methanol and ammonia is also in the presence of oxygen. These all those things contents we will discuss in today. Now I ask some questions within this oxygen content. How much percentages of oxygen presence of our environment? Yes, 21.1%. Then how the presence of in our oxygen of our atmosphere? Single state or double state? Yes, 2 states is there, free state and combined state. How the presence of how much ratio of in our soil surfaces of our oxygen is 46.6% of our oxygen presence of our earth surfaces. Okay, now which gas is used to deep sea divers? Oxygen. Which is the used to cutting of welding tools? Is liquid oxygen. Which is used as in a rocket fuel? Liquid oxygen. Which process is used to gaseous oxygen is converted by liquid oxygen? Liquefaction. These all the simplest question using by oxygen. We must learn it. Can I ask some questions related to oxygen? Is it okay? Yes. First one, who discovered the oxygen at first? Option A, Dalton. Option B, Priestley. Option C, Lavoisier. Option C, Shelley. Yes, discovered the oxygen at first is the one and only Shelley. Second one, carbon dioxide react with water. In the presence of sunlight, it's produced dash with carbon dioxide. What it is? Yes, C option is glucose is the right answer of the photosynthesis process. So next class itself we will see on nitrogen. Thank you.